1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports. Brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
All right, kind of a wrap-up here on some of the fall sports seasons as everything came to a very quick and quicker than probably we expected end. Would you say, Jeff?
Yeah. For Kemper football, you were going to play number one, so you weren't the favorite there.
Yeah, that one was a long road trip you knew was going to be a very big uphill climb.
Yep, and I tell you what, they played really, really well. People are going to look at the final score and not, realize that was a 27-27 game, early in the fourth quarter. They had some opportunities. And then Kemper volleyball, you thought they had a shot to maybe win that opening round, and then you never know what happens after that. But you are the 6 seed playing the 3 seed. Mm-hmm. I guess not totally surprised, and stuff. So, and we still have girls swimming state coming up this weekend, and what a Saturday that they had. So
yeah, definitely they had a great Saturday, and I think the biggest upset so far is that Casey Miners beat you in here this morning. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, we're gonna have to fix that next week.
Well, you did tell me you almost forgot it was Tuesday, so
yeah, it was a little after 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh gosh, I better get down to the office.
Yeah, I looked at Casey when we were out there. I was like, yeah, he'll walk in about 9:29. I said he has been known to do that in the past. So let's talk about David Ross here for a minute. Major League Baseball news broke last night. The Cubs, Jed Hoyer, the general manager, firing David Ross, and they're hiring the hottest name out there, Craig Counsell, from the Milwaukee Brewers to come in and be the new Cubs manager. And not just the new Cubs manager, the highest paid manager in baseball at $8 million a year.
Yeah, and I think anytime you're the hottest name out there, you're going to get the big checks. But what that also tells me is that he won 5 of 6 division titles with Milwaukee. You wonder
well thought of, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably should be. It sounds to me like the Cubs are going to make a concerted effort to probably put teams out there that can win at a high level, and then you question Milwaukee. It's like, okay, what are you doing letting him go? You got a guy that keeps winning the divisions for you. You haven't went deep, you haven't made the World Series, but what are you doing?
Counsell, 9 seasons in Milwaukee, took the Brewers to the postseason 5 times. 5 of those were division titles.
Yep.
And if you think of Craig Counsell's teams, they are very good at pitching.
Yep.
And I really like that because the Cubs already have maybe not a top staff to work with, but their staff isn't bad by any means.
No. So I think the Brewers have gotten rid of more talent over the years and still been just on the same level. I mean, you get rid of a Hader, your back-end closer.
Right.
I mean, that guy was just electric. He goes to the Padres, not as good a team, and he's not quite the Hader that we saw in Milwaukee.
Clubhouse issues out in San Diego. That was the biggest thing. They were supposed to be really good this year, but their clubhouse sounds like it's just an absolute mess.
But it sounds like the Cubs are getting ready to open up the checkbook. For once, Cubs fans have been begging, go out and get some of these guys. I mean, you're a major market team. Go do this, and they haven't been. Here and there, they've signed a couple of guys, but nothing. I don't think that we're going to see this offseason.
The thing I'm going to say to that though is, ask Dodger fans. Going out and buying teams and trying to buy championships don't always work because the Dodgers have what they won one, and that was in the COVID shortened season. They win divisions, but they haven't been able to win titles. Yankees, it's been a long time since they've won a title. Mets have tried to buy a title, haven't been able to do it. If you look at the teams that were there this year, it's teams that have kind of built within smart, built teams that are good teams. So going out and spending a lot of money doesn't always guarantee. I agree with you. I think the Cubs are looking to do that, but I don't think that guarantees anything in today's sports world.
And the Cubs have one of the best farm systems in Major League Baseball right now.
A few years ago, they were terrible, but they've really built it up.
Credit Jed Hoyer and the front office for drafting people, and because I really think that they have a couple guys in their farm system that as soon as they get ready could be difference makers for the Major League team. And I think going out and spending, I could see him. I think Bellinger's going to be. They extended him a qualifying offer yesterday. That's probably the one guy you're really looking at him trying to go out and get, because the Cubs had 3 guys that won Gold Gloves. You had Cody Bellinger, and they have a really good defense. And I think that if you compare Counsell's the way that Council's coach teams that can pitch really well, and the Cubs defense already being really well, I think that that's going to be kind of the recipe for success next year, because it's going to be tough to sign a Bellinger and then potentially go out and get a Shohei.
Right.
Because Shohei's been linked with the Cubs ever since that he said that he wasn't going to go back to L.A. So.
Is that the name that you think that the Cubs are going to go after? Because it makes sense. I mean, he's not going to be able to pitch next year with the arm issues, but he will be able to play and bat, so that's kind of different and unusual.
I think that when he first came over, the Cubs were one of his final teams that he wanted to go to. He's really good friends with Seiya Suzuki, who plays for the Cubs right now, and then that's kind of what all the talks have been. I don't know if it happens, because I think that his play style fits more staying out on the West Coast, because he's a really good hitter. When you play in Chicago, as you see the Cubs at the beginning of the year, their hitting numbers aren't the best because it's cold. But I don't know.
Boy, you put a guy like that on even last year's Cubs team.
Yes.
What a huge difference that would make. My
Absolutely.
goodness.
Do you think they can get Bellinger back? Because from what everything I understand is that none of those guys that got the offers yesterday, they're all going to test the market.
Yeah.
So
Bellinger, no way he takes a qualifying offer.
No,
he's going to sign a longer term deal.
I agree. I think that he tests the market, but from all the talks, though, it sounds like he loved playing in Chicago. Kind of revamped his career a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised that if he kind of feels the market and the Cubs kind of see where his other offers are at, and they kind of offer him based off of that.
Yeah, his agent will not let him take that qualifying offer. He's going to no, we're going to go. You may want to sign with Chicago, and we will maybe eventually, but we're going to go get some other offers and test all that. Now, you said teams aren't buying championships. Rangers did. They went out and spent a ton of money on guys that didn't play, actually.
True.
With DeGrom and some of those guys, and even Scherzer at the end.
Yeah.
They didn't pitch much for him, but, boy, they added some big-time points. Corey Seager and those. Yeah.
The only thing I will say there, though, is I'm a Bruce Bochy guy. I think they won that World Series because of Bruce Bochy. Not that the players didn't do it, but Bruce Bochy wins everywhere he goes, and I think he got rejuvenated by taking a little time off and came back hungry. I think they won that as much with Bruce Bochy as they did with the players.
I think it's easier to build a team off of really good pitching than it is position players. Just because
Cardinals have done it for years.
Yeah. Yes. Just because you look at a team like the Mets or the Yankees, hitters, you don't really know how their season's going to go. You could go one season batting 300, the next season you could bat 240. Right. I think pitchers, you kind of look at their numbers, and they kind of stay right around the same from year to year to year to year. When you have a better year, you might have a down year the next year, but they're still roughly right around the same numbers.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helped Texas in a way a little bit this year, because a lot of their position players, besides a Corey Seager and a Marcus Semien, those have guys that they've either acquired via trade. Like an Adolis Garcia was, a no-name prospect from St. Louis that they traded for, and now he's a superstar.
So, speaking of Texas, that leads me to my trivia question for this week. All right. I like these different ones here. So, talking city Grand Slams. As a Grand Slam in tennis is winning all four majors. Well, in a city Grand Slam, you got to win a major championship. Football, baseball, hockey, and basketball.
Okay.
So, obviously, clearly, New York, Boston, Chicago, L.A., they've all done it. There's 4 other cities out there that have city Grand Slams. They've won championships in all 4 of the major sports.
Okay.
So that's our trivia question. What are those other 4 cities that join New York, Boston, L.A., and Chicago?
Okay.
So that's the question of the morning. So, by the way, I'm going to give props out to my Vikings.
Yeah.
Holy cow. What?
Joshua Dobbs.
The guy wasn't even in the building until Wednesday.
Just still doesn't know the name of his teammates.
Yeah. Didn't know the name of his teammates when he went into play. And I thought, once Jaron Hall went down, I'm like, oh, forget this. Because I watched on tape delay.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not going to spend 3 hours watching this stupid game if the Vikings are going to get blown out. So I looked it up and I'm like, okay, they're close at the end. Pulled it up about 10 minutes there. I'm like, man, they actually pulled that one out.
Right.
With Kevin O'Connell basically describing the plays in the 15 seconds he had to Dobbs and saying, okay, here's the play, here's what's going to happen,
right,
and then hoping it happened. And Dobbs went out and did enough to make it work.
He did.
That's one of the craziest performances I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Question will be, does it continue?
Yeah.
Will he play as well week 2 or week 3, and stuff. So, but it's a great story. Absolutely great story.
Yeah.
The best part of it is that if you were watching the game, there was a clip that went viral after the game of him right before he's getting ready to go in, he's got the starting offensive line there, and he's sitting there telling him about his cadences, and he's having the center snap him the ball, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was one where the right tackle, Brian O'Neill, said, man, I've never even taken a snap with this guy, which the center turned around and goes, oh, really? You haven't taken a snap with him? So crazy stuff going on there. Iowa State, boy, that game at Wrigley Field again. Deacon Hill made a comment the other day that said that it's starting to click. Our offense is getting better, and I'm like, I don't know if I saw it, dude. I don't know if I did.
Didn't look like it.
I won't comment.
I saw something and said that was the 7th highest scoring game at Wrigley Field played within the last year. That's kind of sad.
Now that's a stat for you right there. That is funny. So, and then Iowa State and Kansas over that Saturday night. The kick return, again, a controversy on a kick return involving an Iowa team.
Yeah. I don't know. When you watch it fast play, it looks like you could see where the ref kind of, maybe thought he stepped out, because I think there was one point where his leg crossed over his other leg and kind of looked like he stepped out. But when you slow it down, it's not even close. And they should have seen that on replay, that it wasn't even close.
Yeah, that's where I'm surprised that they didn't catch it was on replay, because, I think that we forget sometimes the speed of the game and how quickly things are happening for the officials out there. So they're going to get things wrong, and it seems like in the last decade that they've gotten a lot more things wrong than what they were 10 years ago or more, and I think the speed of the game is there. I think that when it was the official that was in front of the play, but I think there was a defender that went sliding out of bounds as he just missed the tackle, and I think he might have gotten confused on whose body it was that, was going out of bounds at that part.
You let the play go. You let it go, and then you review it.
I'm not arguing with you. The only fun thing I laugh about is that every Iowa fan was screaming on the punt return, blow the whistle, if you're going to call the flag, blow the whistle, blow the play dead. And now everybody's screaming the other way, let the play out, let the play out. It's like the officials can't win no matter what they do.
I think it's two different scenarios. Like
it is, but it's the same thing. It's whether or not you let a play out or not.
The one constant is if your offense plays better in those games, whether you're talking Iowa, Minnesota, or Kansas, Iowa State, you don't have this problem. You're not talking about it the next week. Just play better. Denny McCartan was like, we said, great halftime adjustments. What did you do? And he goes, nothing. We just told him to play better. Had a little come to Jesus at halftime. That's what we did.
Yeah. Follow the game plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right. So that kind of covers up some of the nationwide and then some of the local statewide sports news. So let's talk about state swimming. This is once again a great performance by the Carroll's area swim team.
Yeah, Deb Danner does such a good job of getting the girls ready for the state qualifying meet, and this year was no exception. I know when I talked to her on Friday morning that she was really excited about where the girls were at. She said that they were really super pumped and felt really good. They had a great week of practice, and then they went over to Ames on Saturday and absolutely tore things up. Finished in third as a team, against two highly ranked teams in Ames and Sioux City Metro. But you qualify 7 different events. You get all 3 of your relays. You get 4 individual events in and stuff. And in one of those individual events, you're sending 2 different swimmers. So you actually send, technically you could say 8 events down to the state swim meet. The other cool thing about it is that every race and every swimmer, no matter if they qualified or not, had a personal best at that meet. So everybody went out and swam their best race of the season at that meet.
Crazy thing I want to add, too, is that Ames is a new pool. So none of them have swam there before. And to come out and get PRs and everything is crazy.
Yeah. And it, so you set 2 school records. The 200 medley relay team of Maya Vellingerhoof, Emma Myers, Amelia Holt, and Zelda DeMoss broke the record that was set in 2010. And then Emma Myers broke her own record. And I want to make sure I get the correct event because she's in 4 of them. It's the 100 breaststroke. So she set her and broke her own school record in that. And she's actually going into that event ranked number 1 in the state. So got a chance to bring home a state championship coming up this weekend. So that's really cool.
And if I'm not correct, she already qualified for that before last night too. So
yes, yep. So
before Saturday.
Yeah, really excited about being able to go. Casey and I are both going over there on Saturday. We'll get some video interviews with the girls, and this is they've sent quite a few kids over before, but I just think there's a different excitement level with this group this year.
Was this expected at the beginning of the year that they were going to get this many qualified? I didn't think so.
No, I think if you'd have said halfway through the season, they were sitting here going, okay, Emma is in, but nobody else has already pre-qualified, so we've got, a couple of our relays that should get in, one that might get in. We've got some other kids in individual events that are close but aren't there yet, and then they go over there and just Saturday was just a really, really good day for them.
I think it really clicked.
Yes. Yes. Now go ahead.
When I was over for senior night in Denison, I think they had a good night. I think they won almost every. They did win every single event.
Right.
But I think that talking to the kids, they might have been really looking forward to going to Ames because it was a new pool somewhere they never swam before. So I think that kind of played into how you prepare and how you get ready for that qualifying meet, and it showed to pay off pretty well.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say that's going to be interesting is that they have prelims on Friday this week, and then the finals are on Saturday. When I had my conversation Saturday morning with Deb, on the Pizza Ranch Coaches Show, she did talk about the fact that in swimming you taper towards the end of the season, so that and they time it. Different schools do it differently. Carroll High times to have their girls ready for state qualifying.
In other words, they're tapering
the training so that they're at their strongest, at the qualifying meet time. And this year they timed it perfectly, I think. Then they got to try to maintain that taper for a week and hope that it'll pull through. A lot of your elite programs don't taper for the state qualifying because they already know they're going to get a bunch of events. They've tapered for the state finals, so they've tapered for this upcoming weekend. So that's going to be an interesting story for me to see if Carroll and how well they take the taper that was set for this past Saturday and kind of keep it and can continue to be on that taper and as strong as what they were.
That's interesting because you'd normally think a week wouldn't make that big of a difference.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't think.
I mean, I wonder what Deb Danner says about is a week a long time for you guys if you're not? I suppose you don't have any meets and nothing in between.
Yeah. So and that's I don't know enough about swimming, but she was the one that brought up that they taper to be at their best and at their peak for the state qualifying and then try to maintain that for the week. And she says a lot of your elite programs taper to be at their best this coming Saturday. So we'll see which one plays out and how it plays out. So. Yeah,
kind of like cross country, I would think, almost like that training for that, because in between qualifying and state meet, you're not going to go out and log a ton of miles.
Right. Yeah, not real hard miles, I wouldn't think.
And I wonder, I'm curious if she has to tell the girls, no, you're not going to do this. I only want you to do this.
Yeah, I think the girls
and the coaches to do that.
Yeah, I think the girls enjoyed the taper though, because prior to the taper is what they call Hell Week, where she's breaking them down, and stuff by their logging a ton of yards and miles and everything every day. So
honestly, I've been tapering for the last 20 years, so just to be my best at this moment. So
I've been tapering for 53.
We got KCIM Sports Rewind. We're going to talk about state volleyball and of course the football playoffs and the KCIM Rewind event, and plus your trivia answer all coming up. KCIM Sports Rewind is brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It is KCIM Sports Rewinds. Assistant Sports Director Casey Minor, Sports Director Jeff Blankman, and me. I'm hanging out here. I got nothing better to do for the half an hour.
You enjoy it.
Except listen to you guys talk about sports. So, where do you want to start? You want to start with volleyball or you want to start with football?
Wherever you lead us, we'll follow.
That is a scary scenario. Let's talk football. That was last Friday night.
Yep.
Once again, Kemper making that long road trip, basically to the outskirts of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah, the two cool things about it. One, it's the first time they had made the quarterfinals since they, won the state championship, so that was really cool. Two, got a chance to run into Terry Kaspar. Only got to talk to him for about 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, we had lunch with Terry just before he left, before he moved away.
Yeah, but, Terry, one of the really, truly great guys and stuff, so it was kind of fun. He made the trek. Yeah, I think he was 20 minutes or a half an hour or something like that, he said, from his house. So, yeah, I did ask the guys up there in the booth when I got there. I'm like, okay, so how far to the border? And they're like, 6.
Yeah.
6 miles to the border, and then we're only like 8 or 9 or something like that from the South Dakota border. So you're up there in the corner about as far as you can get. I think the only other time that I've maybe been farther, or closer to both of the borders probably is when I went to West Lyon with ICAM Manning a few years ago. I think, if I remember correctly, I think that one might be tucked literally right in the corner.
It's literally Clarinda's, only you throw a rock and you can throw it into Missouri practically.
Yeah, I remember the time you and I went down there years ago and we turned the wrong direction coming out of Clarinda and we went, that says we're almost welcome to the Missouri.
It's turned a 2+ hour trip into about a 3+ hour trip, I think, on that night. So you should never let me drive. Never.
I don't think I did after that.
But let's talk about the actual game. How did it go for Kemper?
People. I said this to you guys before we went on. People that only look at final scores and try to judge games are not going to realize that was a really good football game. It was a really tight football game. It slipped away from Kemper over the final 10 minutes of the game, really maybe over about the final 8 or so minutes, 7.5, 8 minutes of that game. But, they led it at halftime, 21-15, scored on 3 of their first 4 possessions of the first half. Their passing game, Central Lyon did not have an answer for it in the first half. The defense struggled some, as we thought they might, but came up with some plays to be able to get a stop or two. Did give up over 200 yards to 2 different runners in the game, the quarterback and the running back. Central Lyon threw a total of 4 passes in the game. 2 of them were Hail Marys at the end of the first half. So they didn't feel they needed to throw the ball and didn't have to. But, Kemper
Talk about a quick game.
Yes. Kemper had a nice mix to open the game of running and throwing. They weren't gaining much in the run game, but it was keeping Central Lyon's defense, I thought, a little bit honest, because they might run it 2 or 3 times in a row and then pick up the first down on a pass. So it wasn't that you could just come out. And I think the other thing, we've talked about it all year, Kemper has so many athletes that they can throw at you. Okay, what are you going to do? You're going to try to take away Ben Gherkin, or you're going to try to take away Michael Kaspelbauer, or you're going to try to take away DJ Vanami, but that's going to leave so many of these other guys available and stuff to be able to hurt you, and Jake Hausman and Carson Candy. And I know I was talking with Tim Raya, one of the assistant coaches and the receivers coach for them, and he's like, we haven't had to use Candy a lot here lately, so we're going to kind of break him out a little bit more tonight, and he had a really good game. But they played well. There was 2 really key moments to me. One right there towards the end of the first half. I think Kemper caught a break. I'd have to go back and be able to see the huddle video for sure. But they kicked one off. They were supposed to be a squib. Coach Steinkamp kind of laughed about it because I said, calling an onside kick right there before the end of the first half, and it worked for you. And he goes, we didn't call it onside. he said we were supposed to squib it, and they kind of miskicked it a little bit. It looked to me up in the booth, for one, it never went 10 yards. It looked to me like it hit the back of one of the Kemper guys and then bounced backwards, and Kemper jumped on it. Well, if that was the case, it should have been dead right where it touched the Kemper kid originally. The officials did give the ball to Kemper with 2 minutes or so left, 3 minutes left in the half. They got within field goal range and weren't able to get the field goal. That would have put them up 24-15 at the halftime. I think if they could have scored, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown there, that would have been huge going into the half. But they didn't score. And then early in the fourth quarter, after they had traded some punts and then some touchdowns, in the third, both defenses made stops right out of the half, and then both offenses scored again. You're tied at 27. Central Lyon gets the ball. They march right down the field as they really had done most of the game, scored. They kick off. They're trying to pooch one down the sideline to keep away from Carson Canny, who's got a couple of returns for touchdowns this year between punts and kickoffs, and Kemper doesn't fall on the football. Central Lyon does at the Kemper 16-yard line. All of a sudden, you go from a one-possession game where you should have the football and you've been able to move the ball and scored. All of a sudden, they punch it in 2 plays later, and they're up 14 with like 5 minutes left in the game. And it just felt like all the momentum swung at that point. Kemper got the ball back, wasn't able to score. Central Lyon punched another one in with a few minutes left in the game. And you go from, like I said, a 27-27 game with 10:36, I think, or something like that left in the ball game, to all of a sudden it's a 48-27 final. So game much closer than what that final score indicated.
And one thing I got to say, props to the Kemper offense.
Yes,
that's the highest points that's been put up on Central Lyon this year, and it's by double digits too. I mean, they gave up 14 was their highest so far this year, and Kemper put up 27.
Yep. And as I was packing up the bag and stuff there at the end of the night in the press box, I wished the Central Lyon folks that were in there, they were really good to us. They wished them the best of luck up in the dome, and they're like, wow, this was the scariest game. I know we only beat West Lyon 7-0 earlier this year, but that was in a torrential downpour, and they just couldn't get their offense established that night. But they said that Kemper actually played them better than anybody else had all season long. And I told some of the Kemper kids that, on Saturday at our Rewind All-Star festivities, it probably doesn't help the feelings at this point, but I think someday as they get older, when they look back, especially if Central Lyon wins a state championship, they'll be able to look back and go, we probably gave them a better game than maybe anybody all season.
I bet they were pretty sore for that Rewind event night after that game. We got to quick talk about Kemper volleyball, of course, against the opening round Grundy Center. Boy, that 2A class was just loaded.
It was the only thing that caught me off guard throughout the whole tournament. I thought Kemper could win against Grundy Center, but I knew Grundy Center would be really good. Being the 3 seed, was that I thought the Hinton-Dyke-New Hartford championship match would be at least competitive. And Dyke made everybody in the tournament look like they're not on the same level.
Wow.
Yeah, they absolutely flattened them. I think they gave up double digits in scoring in only 2 sets or 3 sets the entire tournament. They gave up 1 in the first set in their opening round, and then in the second round, I think the team only scored in double digits once. That was Denver, and then I think Hinton got in double digits.
Twice.
Was it twice?
They did get it.
Okay.
Because the first set was like 25. The second set was like 25-21. Then I think the last one was like 25-14.
Yeah, so
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but just absolutely controlled them. So, but
I remember you said that you do not want to be seed 7 or 8 because 1 and 2, Hinton and Dyke, you didn't want to run into them until possibly the final, or at least
And Hinton manhandled Grundy Center in a way in the semifinal, so they were dominant up to that point. And I had said before the tournament, I wouldn't have wanted to play Dyke this year. You had the Peterson girls; they should have won the state championship last year. They let it kind of slip away in set 5. They should have been playing for their 4th straight state championship, and then they'll play for their 4th straight state championship in basketball coming up potentially this winter because they've won 3 in a row. I thought Dyke was going to come in mad and looking for a little, revenge from last year, and I think they wish they could have ran into Western Christian, who won the 3A championship this year, but they were in a different class. But back to Kemper real quick. Played really well. Came out, you could tell the nerves in the first set were there, and that affected them some. But I thought about the middle part of set 1, they started playing a little bit more like Kemper and settled in, and I thought played much better after that. I thought they did a good job. The Willis girl ended up with 28 kills, but I thought they did a nice job getting some touches on her, getting some blocks on her, kind of forcing her to do some other things. They just, it was just one of those that I think Grundy Center was slightly better, and that was the difference in it.
I think when Elsa Tiefenthaler came in and served for her first time in that first set, kind of really sparked.
She always brings the energy. Yeah.
Kind of really sparked the Knights a little bit. And the Willis girl, you knew coming in that she was going to see the ball a lot.
Yep.
And I think Kemper did a really good job in the middle with Wittrock and Glenn to set up those blocks and kind of force her to go different ways. And even though you're going to look at the stats, she finished 28 kills, but it was a hard fought
28. Yeah, Grundy Center had their lowest kill efficiency, I think, up to that point in the season against Kemper that day. So I thought Kemper played really well. I know I had a lot of people kind of ask me, did Kemper just not play well? And it's like, no, I mean, you got to remember, Kemper was the 6th seed, Grundy Center there was the 3 seed, so they weren't the favorites, going into
You're
that.
not playing a slack team anywhere in Class 2A.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 teams out of that one conference, they weren't going to come. Yeah, they weren't going to come in, intimidated against what was, and tip your cap. I thought, like I said, I thought Kemper played well. Could they have done better? Absolutely, but Grundy Center probably could point at some things that they could have done better, in the match as well. And Casey Peter, I think, summed it up. She said, sometimes you just lose to a better team, and today they were the better team.
All right, next year, Kemper losing some great seniors off this year's team. Reload or rebuild? What is it?
Reload. Yeah.
No hesitation for either one of you there.
Yeah, no. Casey and I have felt it all year. Jeff Honnold said it, at the end of the broadcast. We're really excited about Brianna Whitrock. Just a sophomore. She's got 2 years left. You bring back pretty much everything in the back row with Kaylee Simons and Brooke Roy and the talent that they have back there. You're going to have Brianna Whitrock, you're going to have Elsa Tiefenthaler, Carson Overmole. They have got, and they'll find other hitters. Olivia Schenkelberg. Yeah, they're going to have other players that are going to be able to step into those roles. Not that the senior group isn't going to be very missed because it was a special group, but they always seem to have some younger kids that are ready to jump into the mix.
All right, Rewind event happened on the Saturday. Tell us about that. How'd it go?
That went really well.
Yeah.
A lot of kids showed up. I think a lot of kids had fun with the volleyball, especially the football players. I think had a lot of fun with the volleyball game, and then the girls, I think, had fun, throwing with the passing competition, and then all the pictures that Jeff took. You could just see the smiles on the kids' faces, and I had to laugh because Brock Bating didn't want to sign up for the passing competition right away, even though he was our offensive player of the year and ended up winning the passing competition for the boys.
You know who signed him up? I did. I'm like, our offensive player of the year is not, and a quarterback is not going to be in our. He smiled when I did it, but that was the thing. Some people might go, there wasn't a ton of kids there at the time that we did the award ceremony. I always try to remember. It's like the Iowa State game was going on. We had a ton of kids that messaged me like, "Hey, I'm going out to Chicago to the Iowa game." We had kids that came and played in the All-Star game and then did some of the other things, but then left to be able to get to the Iowa State game because they had tickets for it. So when you hold the All-Star event on a Saturday in the football season, you're going to have some kids. So I appreciate everybody that came out, even if they came out for just a little while. But like Casey said, the fun thing for me is being able to walk around. I went and sat in every group with every team that was there at some point during the day and just chit-chatted with them, and they were all laughing and smiling and having fun. I thought one of the really funny things was the look on the volleyball girls' faces when the football boys were trying to play volleyball. the lack of skill that the football boys have in playing volleyball, because the girls were.
I'm going to tell you this. I thought Edward Miller made it look easy out there.
He did, but I will say this: I was sitting next to a group of the girls at one point, and it was from 3 different teams, all kind of in the same spot. So I kind of sat, in the middle, and they were all one be set behind me and one on each side, and they were like, everything's illegal. Every hit they make is illegal. Every pass they make, every dig they make, there's nothing legal out there, You're
going to go tell them it's illegal?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I did say to the girls at one point, I'm like, okay, the next time you hear people say that playing volleyball is easy, especially the football boys, you should have a little video of this and go, see how easy this is.
To give the football guys a little appreciation, you should have a girls team out there hitting at them on that one and see how
they get scared.
I think they duck out of the way.
No doubt. So we're closing the book on the fall sports season, open it up on the winter sports season. Got the girls basketball playoff preview show. That's going to be coming up this Saturday. In fact, you guys need to get on this. I was talking to Casey this morning. He said something about, so you got all your interviews done? He goes, nope, not even close.
I've got 2 of mine. Got another one coming up here this morning, and then 2 more tomorrow. So I should be, if everybody answers the phone, I'll be done on Wednesday. So.
Yeah, I've got 2 tomorrow, one on Thursday, and I'm still waiting to hear back from a coach yet.
Yeah, so. I got to start reaching out to my boys' coaches because their preview show is the following Saturday. Yep.
You coaches, you don't want to receive text messages from Casey and Jeff all night long, right?
Yes.
Answer your text.
And then for wrestling fans, we haven't forgot about you. We are going to get interviews with all the wrestling coaches. Those are going to go directly to the website. So be checking out our website here over the next couple of weeks. We'll start reaching out to the wrestling coaches and stuff and getting those interviews done as well.
All right, that wraps up KCIM Sports Rewind. Next Tuesday morning, 9:30, we'll be right back here on KCIM.